It's been well documented on my YouTube channel that I'm a huge fan of Assassin's Creed, and I've only wanted the continued success of this franchise moving forward. And even though we've had some peaks and some valleys in this franchise, which we have in any franchise out there, I want to talk, guys, specifically about Assassin's Creed 1, the very first Assassin's Creed that started what we have to this very day, one of the most iconic franchises in all of gaming. But I wanted to talk about something very specific in the Assassin's Creed franchise, because it's something that I've had questions about. I've had people ask me my thoughts on this topic, and it's also one that I've planned on talking about at some point or another. And so I thought, why not take this segment of the show to talk about it? And that is, guys, is why did Assassin's Creed and why did Ubisoft as a whole, why did they decide to move away from Altair, the main character in the first Assassin's Creed? Why did they move away from him so quickly? We got one game with Altair, and of course, I believe we have Altair's Chronicles or something, which came out in 2008, which was, a year after the original Assassin's Creed. But overall, they moved away from Altair very quickly, which was a really unfortunate ordeal in my personal opinion, because the thing about Altair that I really liked, guys, was the simple fact that he had a lot of mystery to him as a character. And look, guys, Ezio, when we get to Assassin's Creed 2, I do like him a lot as a character, but there was something about Altair that I really liked even more. It was just the mystery surrounding him. Ezio was a great, a great character as well, and I'm not going to take anything away from him. But one thing I've always kind of harped on this YouTube channel was stating that I felt that there's been an identity crisis at times with the Assassin's Creed franchise, not only with them going from what's been a stealth game, in my personal opinion, with action elements to an action game with stealth elements. So they kind of went away from the, what the game and what made it special as a whole. But with that, they've also moved away from different characters, different main characters. Now, obviously, guys, Desmond Miles, goes ahead and he plays and he goes into the Animus, and then you take control of these different characters that are ancestors of his, and Altair is one of them. Ezio is another one of those. But I just thought that Altair should have been the focal point, at least for the first few Assassin's Creed games, and then you kind of have that torch pass from one character to the next. It just feels to me that with the Assassin's Creed franchise at this point, it's been so much like there's an identity crisis. It's, you're playing different characters pretty much every single game. And I just feel that that's slightly hurt the Assassin's Creed franchise. So why did Ubisoft, though, decide to move away from Altair? Well, to me, guys, I think that the idea from the very beginning was they didn't want us to connect specifically with any one individual character. Even Ezio, we didn't play him for, 5-6 games. I mean, you play as him for a couple of titles, and then you move on to another character. And so we played as Ezio until Assassin's Creed Revelations, which had a massive cliffhanger, in my personal opinion, at the end of the game, which, and I felt like at that point, where are they going with this story? And then what came, following Assassin's Creed Revelations, to Black Flag and so on and so forth, to all these different titles that came out and spin-offs of the Assassin's Creed franchise. I just have felt as the series has progressed, even though they are enjoyable up until pretty much Origins and Odyssey, in my personal opinion, they were still really fun, right? They still kind of, I just felt like the timeline started to get really convoluted throughout the course of time. And Altair, like I said, guys, he's been the one character I've really wanted to see come back, and I really wanted to learn more about this character, because it just felt like we didn't learn that much about Altair. What we learned about was the Assassin's Creed as a whole in that, which is what this series is all about, in my opinion. It's all about the Creed, and they've kind of drawn away from that, especially with the most recent additions of the franchise, that being Odyssey and Origins, in my opinion. And maybe they're going to kind of give us a little bit of a best of both worlds in Valhalla. We'll have to wait and see when that game comes out. But I just feel that Altair, should have been, a focal point for a number of titles. And Ubisoft obviously felt that they wanted to move on from Altair and kind of go into another direction. moving forward. Maybe they just thought to themselves that we don't want the audience to connect with any individual character. And we've seen this across a lot of Ubisoft's titles, that being like Far Cry. They don't want you necessarily to connect with the character that you are playing as, but they want you to connect with the villains more. And so we see this amongst Ubisoft's titles, a lot of them at least, that are kind of have this style. And not saying that I'm completely against it, but I just feel that Altair should get should be in the spotlight a little bit longer, because he's kind of what started this whole thing with Assassin's Creed, and I would love to see them go back to that at some point or another. But with that, guys, I want to hear from all of you what your thoughts are on this. Do you think that Assassin's Creed should bring Altair back, for another go-around? Do you think they should have continued with Altair for a number of titles in the Assassin's Creed franchise? Or do you like kind of how they did it moving into, of course, Assassin's Creed 2 onwards? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and let's have a real conversation about it. And for more Assassin's Creed content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.